letter penned by former President Jacob Zuma to the ANC's top 6 officials was leaked on social media this weekend. In that letter, Zuma accused the party's top 6 leadership of making a spectacle of its attempts to convince him to reconsider his defiance at the Zondo Commission of Inquiry. In fact, the party's executive held a virtual meeting, you remember, with the former president about 2 weeks ago. In that 23-page letter, Zuma details how he felt the party abandoned him while he fought allegations of state capture and corruption. So we're asking, is this another sign of an impending implosion of the governing party? For perspective, let's bring in ANC veteran and struggle stalwart Mavuso Msimang, who joins us now via our video link. Msimang, always great chatting to you. Thanks so much for making time for us here on Newzroom 405. In fact, part of what was said in that letter, in fact, the former president was arguing that the judiciary has usurped the functions of the executive and become a law unto itself. When claims like that are made, I guess we should try to take a step back to examine the credibility of what's being claimed. And it appears here that there's very little evidence to show for this.
Well, absolutely not even an attempt to demonstrate how the judiciary is overreaching itself. It's an extraordinary letter that was leaked. I didn't realize it had been leaked to the media. It's a kind of rambling, talking letter in which you catch in snatches that he's complaining about the top 6 not supporting him. That's a person who has, over the many years, tried to dodged actually so far successfully, any opportunity to present himself for interrogation, trial or anything. It is amazing that he should be talking about justice delayed, is justice denied. He has actually denied himself justice through his actions. But I do not understand what he means when he says the top 6 or the ANC as a whole abandoned him, because as every South African who is interested in these things knows, Mr. Zuma has been cozy friends with the Guptas. They have wreaked havoc on the economy. All of that is public knowledge. I don't quite know what the ANC was supposed to do about it.
Yeah, I mean, you call it rambling, but many experts have said we ignore what the former president says at our own peril, at least the ANC does, given the role he had and the influence, some might say, he still does have today. Does it perhaps point to what could have been a stronger stance taken by the top 6 around Zuma's defiance at the State Capture Commission of Inquiry? Are we called to at least reflect on that at this moment?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, he starts off in his speech by saying that he expected them to say what they wanted, why they wanted him there, instead of wanting to listen to him. I actually believe that the top 6, as soon as Zuma said he was not prepared to listen to the judges in respect of going to the Zondo Commission, as soon as such a statement was made, an open defiance of the court, the constitutional court for that matter, they should have come out very clearly with a statement that said, we will tell our former president to obey the constitution, to obey the law. We condemn him if he doesn't want to do that. So they should have come out a lot more clearly. Instead, you had people talking about, because some of the people in the top 6 saying the constitution is not sacrosanct. So it really does show that there is a serious difficulty in the top echelons of the organization with some of the people supporting Zuma.
Absolutely. On that note, the idea or the value of unity has been paraded in the party in quite prominent ways in this recent history. In what ways do you think a letter like this potentially puts that at jeopardy?
It really depends on how strong the ANC membership is in its commitment to the organization's values. What you are seeing now are people who call themselves RET, it's always a difficult name for me, Radical Economic Transformation. That is actually counter-revolutionary. People never say, now we're going to form our own party and oppose you. The action is what is called in political science counter-revolutionary. So the fact that the National Executive Committee has come out openly and stated that this tendency, the activities of this group must not continue within the premises of the organization, I think is a very encouraging step forward. That it's taken them, they have given Ace Magashule, for instance, 30 days in which to consider this. I wish they had been more decisive, more incisive in making this thing, but it doesn't change as long as they follow up and implement the constitution of the ANC and remove him at the end of 30 days if he hasn't removed himself by then.
Yeah. It does also pose the question of the role of the elders within the party and where that ought to be now. Do you still feel heard by the leadership of the ANC?
No, we have not been heard for a very long time. I think now when they talk about the elders, it's some kind of euphemism of a way out. And I think they're going to ask the former presidents to intervene. I mean, the persons who are creating the problem aren't really interested in any counsel by anybody. The Integrity Commission consists of really wise people. They are elders. They are people with absolutely no self-interest in anything, in what's going on. And they're not being listened to. They're not being given the power to make decisions once they have examined the case of a person who is brought before them. So I think you are going to succeed only to the extent that you are willing to submit yourself to the requirements of the organization. The elders really have very little room to maneuver or to contribute towards transforming what's going on in the organization now.
That's an interesting reflection. I wonder what you make then of what an analyst has said on our program. In fact, I think it was Professor political analyst Lesiba Tefu, who mentioned that perhaps what's best for the organization, given sometimes instances where you're ignored as the elders, is for it to lose power so that it can introspect, regain its configuration, and then try purge itself of those who are perhaps against the real values of the ANC. Is that a sentiment that resonates with you?
To be very honest with you, if you continue to exercise or mis-exercise power, then you are of no value to the society, to the people that you're supposed to serve. Kgalema Motlanthe did say at a certain time that perhaps the ANC would come out stronger if it experienced sitting in the opposition benches and gotten closer to the people by consulting them on what needs to be done and getting whoever is in government to do that. I share the opinion that if we continued like this, there is absolutely no point to say this is a party of Mandela when it is a party that is seriously hampered by an inability to resolve its problems because there are so many in the top echelon who are implicated and so on. So do you lose elections? Lose to whom? It's a matter that the voters would have to decide. It is a pity that at the moment, really, there is no opposition that one would say merits running the country. But it's a decision for the voters to make. But you can't make the case that this is a party of liberation, therefore it should continue when it's even unable to sort out its problems.
Yeah, in fact, we've heard from many people who say the opposition is a gift to the ANC as the ANC is a gift to the opposition. But I want to take us back to what was also said in that letter from the former president. The sentiment, if you liked, was the former president saying there's a conflation in the separation of powers within our government. And, you know, that's the premise upon which he's suggesting that the judiciary is overstepping. Are you worried about what appears to be an increasing disregard for the independence of the judiciary? Should we be concerned about that value waning among some of the most influential leaders of our country?
Once again, this is a challenge that would be very easily solved by a united ANC. There are a few excuse me, individuals who are touting that line. Mm. The constitutional court has at certain times done what you might call overreach. But that has always been in the interest of the ordinary person. I recall how they actually took over the decision to instruct a minister to carry out her work in the case of SASSA, this South African Social Security
Agency.
Yes, who, if the Constitutional Court had not intervened, there was a real risk that the people would not get their pensions at the end of the month. And they admitted that this is overreach, and they were extremely uncomfortable about that. And they did the minimum to ensure that the minister was obliged to perform her work. There may be one or other institution, but instances, but up to now, I think they have behaved absolutely impeccably.
Given our discussion, what ought to be the response from the ANC top six to this letter, especially because the letter has been in the public domain? It's been spoken about virtually on every public discourse platform, I imagine. So how should the ANC top six respond to this, even publicly, dare I say?
Given our reality today, I would think the least that the ANC should do is indicate that Jacob Zuma is not behaving like a respectable member of the organization. He's out to lunch on what is going on in the country. For him to completely not understand that for the past 10 years and more, he has been the cause of the problems, constitutional problems, from Gandla with its swimming pools and so on, and he blames the top six for not supporting him on that. They need to let the former president understand that he is out of order when he does this. And I don't know who leaked the document, but you're right, it is out now, and it invites a comment from the ANC as to where they want to go now, how they want to take this thing forward. That would not be ruling by media, but the reality is that people know that this is what Zuma has said, and the ANC needs to find a way of addressing that and really putting him in his place in this regard.
Well, I guess you and I will have to wait and see if that actually takes place. Perhaps history suggests perhaps not. But we'll see how it unfolds. Thanks very much for your time and for your take on this. Really appreciate it.